Hey folks, I feel I need to explain a bit of what's going on right now and then get into the home prices and insights for York Region for week ending March the 1st, 2023. Okay, so what is it that I need or I feel I need to explain? There's lots of multiple offer situations going on right now across the GTA, but for this segment I'm focused more on York Region. And you know, when we talk about prices are up and there's a greater intensity and months of inventories down and lots of multiple offers, it's a generalization, first of all. So yes, there are many properties now being sold in a multiple offer situation, but when I say it's a generalization, there's also many properties not selling that way. There's properties that are being sold under market value right now, and there's properties being sold over market value right now. It's a very tricky, difficult market to understand, to tell you the truth. When we talk about sold over asking, for many people, that sounds like, wow, how do these sellers get so much more money? Or why would buyers ever pay over asking? It's important to understand over asking does not necessarily mean over market value, because over asking is basically more than the list price. But there's many situations, most situations actually, that have an offer night, the list price, the asking price, has started off low by design. The whole point is, let's list it low, meaning below market value, lots of eyeballs show up, and then we sell it for more than what we listed it for. Well, selling over asking many times in this market is meaning it's selling for around market value, a lot of these properties. Now I know a year ago when it was really crazy, selling over asking many times meant above market, because lots of properties are selling higher than what a similar home sold just a few days prior. In this market right now, it's not necessarily meaning that. For sure, there's some selling a bit higher than the previous home sold, and that's why we're seeing home prices creeping up. But there's many situations where there's an offer night, there's multiple offers, and the home sells for at a similar price than what other homes have sold for in that neighbor. It's not a guarantee that they're going to get more than market. They're getting more than asking, but that doesn't mean they're getting more than market value. The other point I want to get across, when I'm saying that the market is more intense right now, there's more multiple offer scenarios, it's not all homes, but it's also not a prediction of the future. Nobody can successfully predict the future. I'm telling you what's happening right now. And this whole market right now, with buyers seeming to all of a sudden intensified and have become more numerous, and sellers not listing, it's created a scarcity in the market, and buyers are really intensifying the whole buying process right now and bidding up prices in many situations. But this caught everybody by surprise. From the last quarter of last year, things were a lot more quiet. This year, this first quarter, it seems it's just gone nuts, like somebody turned on the tap. But just as fast as somebody turned on the tap, they could turn it off. We don't know how long this is going to last. We don't know if sellers are going to see this and think, well, prices are pretty good now, let me get back onto the market. And if that's the case, and some of this demand is now satisfied, are things going to calm down the next part of the year? None of us know exactly what's going to happen. I'll tell you one thing though, whatever is happening, I'm going to tell you right here on this channel. If you think this video can help somebody you know, please pass it along. If you get value out of this, please subscribe. Let's get into the numbers. you want to speak with me about your real estate situation, selling, buying, it's really simple. Below this video, in the description, there's a link to my calendar. Click on that, book a time that's convenient for you. This way, I'll know ahead of time and I'll make sure my schedule's organized so we can talk about whatever's on your mind. Let's get into the numbers. Before we get into our weekly breakdown for Vaughan, Richmond Hill, and Markham, I'm going to talk about all of York Region broken down by month. These numbers are for detached properties only. So for month ending February 23rd, you should know highlighted in black, I've got each February going back to February 2019. So for February 2023, 467, I had to look sideways, is that a 6 or a 9? 467 detached properties were sold. Going back 3 years, it's the lowest sales for a February that we've had going back to 3 years. Pretty similar to February 2019 where we sold 450, but still 467 over the last few years, one of our lower years. Average sold price is $1,668,000, which is 16% lower than where we were February the previous year, February 2022. Now, February 2022 happened to be the peak month, the month where we've had the highest average sold price ever for York Region detached properties. That's February. So we're down from the peak there. If you're thinking, you know, I'm going to wait to buy until prices come down to, say, 2019 prices, well, where we are now, we're actually up 50% from where prices were February 2019. So for the current average sold price to be at 2019 levels, it needs to drop by 33% to get to February 2019. So if you purchased February 2019 on average, your detached home has increased by 50%. It's a lot. Increased by 50%. And the reason I bring that up is because, and it's just human nature, the way we think, the way we're wired. If you didn't sell at the peak, but you remember your neighbor's house selling for almost $2 million, and you're thinking of selling now, and somebody says to you, oh yeah, your home will probably sell for $1,600,000 and change. You're thinking, oh, I'm losing like almost $400,000. Are you nuts? Well, you're not really losing $400,000. You chose not to sell at the peak. Not everybody could buy low and sell high. It just doesn't work that way. It's just not something everybody can do. But if you bought in 2019, you know, a 50% increase in just a few years, that's pretty good. If you bought in 2014, your York Region home has, on average, doubled in value since 2014. It's only taken 9 years for prices to double in York Region. Just something to think about. Here is months of inventory, and I'm going back to February a year ago. February, March, April, months of inventory was increasing. Average prices were coming down quickly. They've kind of leveled off, and for February 23, months of inventory has come down, and we're seeing all the craziness out in the market right now. It's because of scarcity. Months of inventory has come down, supply and demand. Average sold price are flattened out over the summer and the fall, and now we're starting to see them creep up a little bit. Let's break it down. We're going to look at Vaughan, Richmond Hill, and Markham for detached properties. Now these numbers, still for detached, but broken down on a weekly basis for a whole year. 30 detached properties were sold. 8 of those were at $2 million or more. Average sold price sitting at $1,921,000. 1921 is only 9% lower than last year's average sold price. Might sound a bit funny me saying only 9%. The previous few weeks we were 25, 21, 26% lower than where prices were a year ago. So compared to the last 3 weeks, 9% really is only 9%. Median price is 12% lower than where the median price was a year ago. And when we look at median price moving forward from the beginning of this year, the dotted line is the 4-week moving average. Median price pretty much on an incline. Median price is increasing on a weekly basis, generally speaking. Average sold price kind of looks like it has been coming down, but I know what's happening out there, and that's since the beginning of the year. But I can tell you, if we focus on the last few weeks, average sold price, the intensity in the market, the more and more properties being sold at list price, or we're going to see average sold price over the next few weeks kind of start to come up a bit. Of the 30 that sold, 27% sold at list price or more. Previous to that, it was 40%, 39%. You know, it's the listings. Now, buyers have always been there. A bunch of them came kind of on the sidelines and came off the market and were watching, but they didn't leave the field. They were still there, ready to jump back in when they thought the timing made sense to them. And it just so happens that this year, this first quarter of 2023, a whole bunch of these buyers came in, but they're just aren't, the listings aren't there. The volume of properties to buy are not there. This here happens to be sales. Look at listings, 44. I'm going to go back. 30 were sold. There were only 44 new listings of detached properties, not a lot of choices. And I can tell you, of these 44 that I'm calling new listings, a bunch of those were canceled and relisted. So there were properties that were previously on the market where the listing was canceled and then relisted again. So it's not really a new listing. So this is what's really causing the intensity. There's just not a lot of choice. The sellers are not coming onto the market, and the buyer, the demand, the appetite for people to buy is not being fulfilled. So the few properties that are good, that's what people are going after right now. Months of inventory sitting at 1.4, and this is all for week ending March the 1st, 2023. You can see here months of inventory coming down, and the last few weeks we've been seeing prices going up for Vaughan. Here's Richmond Hill. Sales for a while now, since the beginning of February, have been increasing every week, but they're going up by 1, 2, 1 to now. You know, I'm showing there's an increase, but doesn't really seem like it. 19 detached properties were sold. 6 of those were at $2 million or more. Average sold price is $1,928,000. 1928 is 9% lower than last year's average sold price. The median price is also 9% lower than last year's median price. Now the 4-week moving average, both for average and median, looks kind of sort of flat, but for median seems like it might be creeping down, and actually for average sold price maybe creeping down a little bit in Richmond Hill. Of the 19 that sold, 61% sold at list price or more. And if we look at the last 3 weeks, more than half of those properties sold. Now I know there's not a lot of properties being sold, but more than half of them are sold at list price or more in Richmond Hill. Only 30 listings. I'm going to go back. 19 were sold, only 30 new listings in Richmond Hill. Months of inventory has been coming down since the beginning of the year. We're now sitting at 1.6 months of inventory. Here's Markham. 31 detached properties were sold, which is a big jump from 21 the previous week. So 31 were sold, 9 of those were at $2 million or more. Average sold price is $1,834,000. 1834 is 11% lower than last year's average sold price. Median price of $1.7 million is also 11% lower than last year's median price. And both average sold price and median price since the beginning of the year have been creeping up. That's the trend line, but it's just creeping upwards. Of the 31 that sold, more than half, 55% sold at list price or more, and that's over the last 4 or 5 weeks, that's kind of been a trend. We've been just slightly over the halfway mark, more than 50% selling at list price or more. Listings, 29 new listings. I'm going to go back again for a bit. We sold 31, 29 were listed, and we know a bunch of those 29 were cancel relist. Not a lot of inventory. It's like the market is being starved for new inventory. Months of inventory, 0.8. As months of inventory comes down, we do expect prices to climb. This is condos now for all of York region. 42 condos were sold. One was at $2 million or more. Average sold price sitting at $707 for the average condo sold. Now, for weeks now, we've had a high of just over 7 and a low of just higher than 650. So between 650 and 7 is kind of where average sold price has been bouncing now for a few weeks. 707 is 9% lower than the average sold price a year ago for condos across York region. The median price of 688 is 6% lower than last year's median price. Median price seems kind of flat. Average sold price has been creeping up slowly since the beginning of the year. That's the trend that we're on. Of the 42 that sold, 19% sold at list price or more. So there's lots of room, lots of space, not a lot of pressure on condos across York region right now. You're not competing in a lot of them. And lots of listings. Let me go back. 42 were sold, 86 were listed. That's what we like to see, more of a, when you've got a lot of choice out there and buyers can pick, that's when we start headed into more of a balanced market. We're not there yet, but that's what we like to see. Months of inventory has been coming down, sitting now at 1.8 months of inventory. So we need more weeks of sales where they are, but double the listings keep coming onto the market. A bunch of them cannot be canceled relist because that doesn't really increase the volume out there. And then we will start to see months of inventory going up. I'm not predicting that that's going to happen, but that's what would need to happen, or the reverse. Listings can stay the same, but buyers have to stop buying. We need like half the buyers that are out there, and I don't see that happening anytime soon. So months of inventory coming down, sitting at 1.8. And again, average sold price for condos trending upwards, now at $707,000. Here's a quick summary. We are very much in a seller's market. We have been for a long time in a seller's market, but it was just months of inventory were sitting closer to a balanced market. So it kind of felt like a balanced market, but not right now. Very much a seller's market right now. Thanks for watching. Again, if you see value, please subscribe, pass the video along. Have an awesome day.